Alright, take two here. Let's try this again. I'm Dean, and what I would like to do today is show a comparison on different papers with different inks and different fountain pens. The ones I have here today are in no specific order, but we have my Parker Urban medium nib inked up with Walden Pond Organic Studio. We have my Lamy Studio in a fine nib, inked up with Copper Noir. We have my good old standby Pilot Metropolitan in fine nib, inked up with the Pilot Namiki Blue Black ink cartridge. I have one of my most expensive pens, which for some of you isn't even near the tip of the iceberg, and for others it may be way overpriced. But it is my Sailor 1911S with the gold fine Japanese nib, and this one is inked up with the Sailor ink cartridge in black. I have my one of my first, many years ago, fountain pens. It is a Levenger. I don't know if you can, whoop, maybe that's backwards. I don't know if you can read that. It's a Levenger. And this one has a fine nib, and it is inked up with a Levenger ink cartridge in forest green. And see how the light hits that differently. It's almost a different shade, but it is forest green. I have my good old faithful Lamy Safari in fine nib, and this one today is inked up with Lamy Turquoise. Fairly newer purchase here is my Moon Man eyedropper pen. And this one is currently inked. It's a fine nib, inked with Joy Sepia. And you can see how in different light, if I turn it, that shade is also different on the bottle. And lastly, that I have inked up for fountain pens, is my Twsbi Classic. Out of all my pens, I'd say this is one of my favorites. I like the flats on the barrel. I like the weight of it. I like the design of it. And this is a fine nib also. And that one is inked up with Konpeki Iroshizuku ink. Now, I've got some different papers that I want to show you too. Some in the same brand, but different colors, like cream, ivory, white, and how these inks appear different on different papers. And they will vary from pen to pen also. The one here, my Twsbi Classic, if I put this Joy Sepia from the Moon Man in there, the lines are completely different colors. The shading's different because it's in a different pen. And it's also different on each paper. So it gets to be incredibly difficult, for me at least, to coffee time, to pick inks online, because I don't know if it's their lighting, if it's the camera, if it's the paper, if it's the pen, if the fact that they just filled the pen, or if they've had it sitting in there for a month or two already. I want to try to give the truest representation that I can with ink colors that I have. So perhaps it'll save future discouragement or disappointment in buying a shade of ink you think is perfect for what you want online, but then you get it home and you actually use it on your paper in your pen, and it's nothing like what you expected it to be. So I got regular, sure, run-of-the-mill copy paper. And on this, you can see the back side, it didn't show through. But then again, this is from my Waterman Careen rollerball pen, which I replaced with a Waterman ballpoint refill. They're made to fit the pens, and I like the rollerball, but the rollerball bleed through this paper. The ballpoint does not. So at any rate, let's just pick one here. Here is Twsbi Classic with the Konpeki. We'll get you zoomed in here. Well, I gotta get up here. And as you can see, that doesn't feather too much, but it is wide. And it does bleed through. So after that, let us try my Levenger with the Levenger Forest Green. Now, that does not look green. It looks black. Now, this is just a regular curly Q fluorescent light bulb. I want to show you, see if it looks any different when I turn the LED lights on and shut that one off. See how that changes the shade of the paper? It's the same paper. And see how that the Levenger with the forest green still looks black. But the Twsbi with Konpeki, almost a brighter blue now. And this is with just the light from the window. And here is the fluorescent bulb again. So that's part of the problem with these ink reviews, and you're trying to get a color you want and you don't know what their lighting is, what their camera is, it's just incredibly difficult. But anyway, we'll keep going here. The Sailor 1911S. Now you see how wide that writes also. And that's a Japanese fine. It's on fountain pen paper, it does not write that wide. It's another Japanese fine. This is the Metropolitan. And this one, I think it's just a blue bat black. This one in the Japanese fine is a wetter writer than the Sailor in a Japanese fine on this paper and with this ink. Now, if I were to take the ink out of the Sailor here with my little needle filler and put it into a cartridge for the Pilot, it would write drier. That's the different properties of different inks. Here is my Lamy Studio with Copper Noir. Normally I do not write this big, but if I write my normal, if you can see here, this is my normal sized writing. These are much bigger. But if I write that small and tight with, and this is straight, but I turn the paper. Anyway, if I write that tight and small with these, it's just going to look all smeary. This is the Parker Urban with the Walden Pond Sheening ink. That looks black, but it is in reality a very, very dark green that ends up having a red tint or sheen to it when it dries. Lamy Safari with my Lamy Turquoise. And lastly, the Moon Man with Joy Sepia. Now I can pretty much say all of these are going to bleed through. Except maybe the Sailor. Let us find out. There's the Twisby Classic, Levenger. Yeah, the Sailor bled through in a few spots. Pilot Metropolitan. The Lamy Studio, Parker Urban, Lamy Safari. Move this stuff. And the Moon Man. Now, yeah, focus. That's with these colors are with the fluorescent curly Q light bulb. Let's do the LEDs. Now, see how much whiter that paper looks. And if you go back and play the video, look how different these colors look. And it's the same paper, same ink, same pens. Just different lighting. Now, let's get this over here so you can see what I'm doing. We'll get rid of the multi-purpose copy paper. And I know a lot of people, they want to see how things perform on the regular, generic, or, well, that's a brand name. The normal, just Mead notebook. So, we'll do the same thing in the same order and show you what I'm looking at. Except for I should have laid my pens out in the same order I used them. Haha. Alright, I think this is going to be a 2 or 3 part video because I'm already at 20 minutes. And I'm not sure if I am interesting enough to listen to for an hour. But anyway, well, we'll start with the regular ballpoint in my Waterman. And this writing is a tad bit larger than I would normally do also. But that is for video purposes. We'll do half and half here, half zoomed out, and then I'll do the other half zoomed in. Gotta put these in order so it's easier for me to grab next time. Well, I forgot to zoom in. Lastly, As you can see, this Mead notebook paper does much better than the copy paper. Well, can't see both of them that way. There we go. The lines are nowhere near as wide. And you're going to have bleed through. Nowhere near as much though. The only ones that did were the Levenger, the Lamy Studio, and that's about it. The Moon Man may have, but it just looks like extreme shading, or ghosting they call it. Now we'll try the same thing here and change lighting. See how different that looks though. Lamy Studio almost looks red. We'll zoom in here so you can see the line width difference. Now let me get this folded so I can put it right next to it. See how much wider some of them are. That's just how each paper absorbs it differently. And bring you back out here. I'll do the same thing with, I might as well stick with the cheap stuff for now. We'll do the Exceed notebook. This is the one I am currently using to work on my book writing. I cast the characters and time for the book and miscellaneous notes, scratched out notes. It is a story that takes place in the year 2153, and it is based on the moon, our moon, and it's living on the moon. So it's a sci-fi fiction type thing, and I've been working on it for about a year now. Not religiously or anything like that. I used to think writing a book is easy. You just put pen to paper and start writing. Oh boy. This is the lunar. It is the digital currency of the moon. Now see, normally you wouldn't need currency living on the moon, seeing how everything's provided for you, and it is everything's replicated. If you ever watch Star Trek, any of those, they got the replicators in the spacecrafts, you know. Everything's free. But if I'm bringing civilians from Earth, or I'm not bringing them, if civilians from Earth are coming, trying to get them to participate on the moon in a meaningful and productive way, one needs to provide sense of worth, I guess. So I had to come up with the Lunar. Real original name, huh? Anyway, this is just different pens that I use on this paper. And I gotta write it here because it's different. I mean, it's different. It's this Walden Pond, for example, with the Parker Urban. Now, where are they here? There's a medium on this paper, and here it is on the white paper, on the copy paper. And now on this paper, you can, if I see the sheen, this paper does sheen, and it does not bleed through any of it. There's ghosting, but it's minimal. Like you lay it down flat and push it against the other ones, you can see it, but there is no bleed through. This is relatively inexpensive paper, and it's a dot grid notepad. And it's at my local Walmart. At least it was last year when I picked it up. So, let us do the writing samples now. Now this is more or less the size that I would normally write in between these little dots. All my pens are tooled with micro mesh paper. So they are smoother, I guess you'd say, than when I received them. I use the green one, which is the 1 micron. I've used the white, which is 0.3 micron. As you can see, I've used it. But that tends to leave the nibs a tad bit too smooth, and you get what they call baby bottom. And you get skips. I do anyway, that way. So I just go over it again with the 1 micron and back to normal. Use at own risk. Well, remember to zoom in on this one. And get this so you can see it. Now see, this ink does tend to have dry starts because it's that sheening ink. Whoops. And as it dries, as I said, I'll tilt this, and you can see that nice purplish red sheen. Now you're starting to see a little bit of shading here with these other inks too, because this paper is not quite as absorbent. And by shading, I just mean, see how this is the lighter, and then where I crossed it's a little darker. It's a little darker there. You can see it better if you move it a little bit. You know, you see it better in person than you do on camera. And my Moon Man. Now, on here, see how dark the Moon Man, that Joy Sepia looks compared to the Copper Noir? It's similar, but there's that little subtle difference. But on here, there's not that. Well, there's a difference, but it's not as pronounced as the copy paper. And now we'll leave it right there, and we will switch the lighting again back to LED. Look at that color change in that turquoise. And the Parker Urban. Get my fingers under here. Look at that sheen coming off of the Walden Pond. Now you can see, if I turn this and move it, you can see the different shading of the turquoise. The black is just going to be black. That Levenger, that forest green, still looks black. And then the shading of the Konpeki. That is the relatively cheap think I paid last year $8 or $9 for this pad, and it's got, well, let's get you focused here, quite a few pages in there, and it works good. Let's see what the bleed through did, or the again, if you just push it down, you'll see the ghosting, but no bleed through. So it's good paper for being cheap, and it's got a like a rubbery type cover that's just glued onto the first page, and it again is the Exceed. This one is 7.5 inches by, so you can see it here, 9 3/4 inches. Don't ask me to convert that, but you can see the size comparison with my hand versus the little rodeo one, which I want to say is an A5, but this might actually be an A5. This one. But now I'll just show you the differences in this paper, which is my Rhodia white. Whoa, 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 come on. You can see the dimensions there. And these are my most recent ones I have inked up. There's the Moon Man with the Joy Sepia. Little bit lighter color there than it is in the copy paper. Did some nib work on my pen BBS here, and you do that at your own risk, because I broke the feed. It's a plastic feed, and I just broke the feed. So anyway, there's a Lamy Studio with the Copper Noir. Now you can see how that's a little more orange colored and much finer lined than the multi-purpose copy paper. Especially this Twsbi Classic with the Konpeki in it. Same pen, same ink, just different paper. And you can see the color difference too. My Levenger now, you can actually see it's starting to turn green. I gotta bring you in a little closer yet. So you can see it's greener. I hope you can. I do in person. Versus almost black on the copy paper. And see how much narrower them lines are. Man. This is the Sailor. Whoa, where am I here? With Shimoyo. That is Shikiori, or however you want to pronounce that. And that is my Shimoyo. Parker Urban with the Walden Pond. Look how much narrower that is now. And you can see right up where I smeared a little bit, you can see the green. In this one you can also see the shading or the sheen. If I can get the, there it is. You just gotta hit the light just right. But you can see it where I wrote the M. And that's pretty cool ink. Whoops, wrong way. But that is my Rhodia little pen and ink book. Now, I'll show you a little bit of difference in a couple different Rhodias. Got one that is cream colored, and we have one that is white. For the most part, pretty much the same paper, just different colors. "47 minutes already." I'm going to have to write these closer to the edge, so when I slide it over, you'll be able to see the difference. quick comparison between regular copy paper you can see the sheen on that Walden Pond already on the left. See how much thinner that Pilot writes now. Well, that's the cream colored paper with daylight LED bulbs. It's a regular old curly Q fluorescent. Whoa, a little too much there. See how that just changes the colors and shades of everything. Can you see the sheen in there? Yeah. You can see it on there. You can see the shading. But it just, like this turquoise. Look at that for a minute. And just look at the color difference. With different lighting. So be aware of that when you're shopping for inks. Now we will do, or yeah, you're watching, so we'll be doing it. Now I gotta try to write. Well, I can just put it over here. Do some fast ones here so you can really see the green. It's just a dark green is pretty much all it is. But as I said with that one, this one here, when I bought it, I thought it was going to be a lighter green. Well, these are all good quality papers here. And it's not necessarily a review for anything. It's just more or less like a info, so you're aware. I also have Tomoa River paper, but I don't, it's 52 GSM. And I don't use much of that because at the moment you cannot get it. Because apparently there are machines that make the 52 GSM, the thin newspaper stuff, are ancient and out of date and not functioning properly. So they don't make it anymore. Copy paper on the right, the white rhodia on the left. It's going to be pretty much the same as the cream or ivory colored paper. But what I wanted to show you is this here. The difference between two different colors of the same paper. And how that affects your inks. See that? One looks lighter than the other, but it's, you just saw it, it's the same ink, same pen. Different color, same paper, just different colored paper. See the blue-black on the Pilot, you can see a little bit of blue in the white paper, but not so much in the cream colored or ivory colored. Now the sheening is going to be, you know, that it's quality paper, so the sheen is going to be there. In the Walden Pond, where's my forest green? You still can't really see that it's green under this light. Look at the color difference in the turquoise. And a little bit in the sepia, but the sepia seems to read more enjoyably on the ivory paper or cream colored paper. Now we'll switch light sources. This is the bright white LEDs or daylight color, whatever they call it. And of course you're going to get the sheen. Might be able to see the green in there now. But see, just different shades of the same ink, same paper, just different colored paper. I'm going to end it there. I've been talking for an hour. I've got that other Clairefontaine notebook and the paper, but that's going to be, well, I suppose I could do one of them because that is a different paper that I haven't used yet. Then we'll compare the white to the white and see what that gives us. We'll use this one. Whoa, come on, focus. We'll use this one. This is blank paper. And what I do when I write letters is I just take a piece of lined paper and simply slide it underneath. And then when I push down, you can see the lines. That's how I do it anyway. Then I use a paper towel or another piece of paper to rest my hand on to keep the oils off the paper. For the most part anyway. This will be the last one, be wrapping it up here. Can you see that? Yep. Okay, we got I sure do hope you're having a good day. Perhaps being a little more productive. Whoops. I can't write and spell and talk at the same time. Cool. Now I can't even start it right. Alright. I hope you're having an enjoyable day and being a little more productive than I am. Okay, now here we go. Do it on this one now. Never really gave it much thought about writing and talking at the same time, because I've never actually filmed myself writing before. If any of you have, let me know how you do it. Or is it just something you need to practice? Now I know why there's so many of these writing videos that are labeled ASMR. Because it's incredibly difficult to talk and write and spell all at the same time. At least for me it is. I do have other inks. I do have other pens. But this is all I have inked up right now. And the inks colors I've chosen for now. There we have it under this light. Both white papers, just different brands. I'll move her over here. Very similar results. Very similar paper. The Clairefontaine seems to be a touch toothier. They're both smooth, but when you write on this one, you'll get just a hint more feedback than when you're writing on the Rhodia. Parker Urban, and of course there's going to be plenty of sheening on both of them if I can get that one to do it. Oh, you saw it. It blipped. There it is. See? There's sheening there. And we go here. Very similar coloration there. Now we'll leave them right there. And we'll change the lighting again. Looks almost like it's completely different paper. But the coloration is pretty much all the same. I mean, between the two papers. The shading in the ink is a little different because of the different lighting. So I really hope that you've got something out of this. and realized that just seeing a writing sample online, not to call anybody out, but you know, jet pens, Goulet pens, any of them, not just the company, any of them that do writing samples with an ink. Like I bought this one, because it is exactly what I wanted when it came down to a little bit of shading and, you know, the coloration and the depth of the color and everything else like that online. And I watched a few different ones and they all seemed about the same. But what I'm telling you is they're not. I ordered it, I got it, I do not use it much at all. I have a few in here because I've tried it in a few different pens thinking, it must just be my pen. Nah. See, there's the Lamy Studio with the Earl Grey. Now, you look at that and you think, yeah, there's a little bit of shading, but it just looks kind of black, right? Well, look at Black Eel from Noodlers. Extremely similar. And in my pen BBS, where'd it go? There it is. There you got some decent shading, but then when you do continuous, like my swirls there, it's just gray. That's not what it looked like online when I was watching the reviews. My Twsbi Eco with the American eel, the black eel, that is very similar to the Earl Grey. I don't need two inks that look identical. Now the one I do kind of enjoy is the Fuyu Shogun, and that one is another Pilot ink. That one's got a grayish silvery looking blue in it. That's okay. The Under the Shade, which is another gray. It's a decent gray, but it's a little too light for what I wanted. Now that's this light. Look at it under the LEDs. And it's slightly different. The Fuyu Shogun, slightly different. The Earl Grey, now it really looks like the Black Eel from Noodlers. And that's on the Rhodia paper. I have it here on this Exceed notebook. I have the American Eel, which looks good in black on camera, but in all honesty it's not you got some shading there, and it does look a little grayish. So when you see them ink reviews, just kind of take them with a grain of salt. Let me get this stuff all organized again. I guess that's all I'm trying to say, because they're not all going to be the same. I've got a little Rhodia notebook here too, with, I think this is ivory colored paper. I don't know if you can see the glitter in that Emerald of Shiver. You gotta get it just right. I didn't shake the bottle very well on that one, but I did on the... Oh no, the Emerald of Shiver has it, but the Rogue Hematite doesn't have much glitter in there. And with wetter writing inks, look at the Joy Sepia in a flex pen. Violet ink, Sumeyer. And then I've got different inks. I like the Baystate blue on pretty much all my paper. And then I got just a little scribbles and working on creatures for my book. Little scribbles, different ink colors. This is the Tourmaline. Now I was deceived on the color of this ink too. It's okay. I mean, it's okay. Just when you go to write with it, to me it just gets to be a little too much. That green is on this paper is not so bad, but on the white paper, there's my Emma Iru. This is Twsbi, or this is Noodler's Baystate Blue. I love this ink, except for the only way you're going to get it cleaned completely out of your pen is with a bleach solution in water, 10% bleach. Otherwise, the dye in it just stains the plastic. Some more scribbles. See, that green is it's just made too much for me. You may like it. Baystate Blue really sticks out. Another creature maybe. Violet sticks out. Just a few scribbles. And then some narrow boating notes that I was looking into. Okay, this is Dean. I'm done. This is definitely going to have to be a two-part video, because I can't foresee anybody watching this thing from start to finish. It's really not that interesting. I'm sorry, but it's not. Alright. Have a good day. I hope it helped. I mean, especially with the Mead notebook. It did surprise me that it's not as bad as the copy paper. I mean, it still bleeds through, but not like the copy paper. Alright. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay well. Talk to you later.